Hi, everybody. It's episode 428 of PodQuest.
Hey.
It's Wednesday, October 26th, 2022. I am Chris. With me is Druten.
Hello.
And Walnut.
Is it like Darth Vader Day or
Man, Vader was barely
Darth
a
Maul
Sith.
Day? Was it Maul? Is it Maul Day? Like which Sith? Which 20 Sith is it?
I don't know, like one of the good ones.
A good Sith.
Yeah.
There's no such thing. Or are you talking like the Sith people and not the Sith
Well,
Jedi?
so that's not canon anymore. The Sith were never a
not?
people. They were in canon. They were always like the Dark Jedi. Like they no longer, as far as I've seen, like in like Knights of the Old Republic, like Korriban was like the home planet of the Sith, and they were more like a people than just a group of Dark Force wielders. Sith are just the Dark Force wielders now. But like Darth Plagueis or something like that.
Yeah.
Or
okay, it's Darth Plagueis Day, December 26th, or not December, October 26th. God, man.
So Jesus born on the 25th, Darth Plagueis born on the 26th.
I mean, that just makes sense.
Oh man, how you guys doing?
Oh, doing all right.
I'm tired.
Same here. It's been a long week and it's only Wednesday.
Yeah, it has been. I punched my computer monitor yesterday, my work monitor yesterday. Didn't break it. My hand hurts though, so might have broken that. Or at least fractured my knuckle or something like that. I don't know.
If you punched your screen that hard and you only hurt yourself, you need to drink more milk, my friend.
Seriously.
I don't know how I didn't break it though. Probably because like I think the reason I didn't break it is because there's a lot of space behind it can move. So like the force that I put into it pushed it back instead of actually into it.
So why did you punch it though?
Because that's where the error message I kept getting on the thing I was running that failed 12 times popped up, and I wanted to take that error message off forcefully.
Have you thought about just not failing so much? It's
not my fault. It was an automated process that all I had to do is click a button and let it go, and it failed 12 fucking times. Yeah. You already know I don't like my job, so it's just, it pisses me off.
Everybody, including your job, knows you don't like your job.
Yeah, probably. It pisses me off that, like, I literally, this whole week, I haven't really done anything. Maybe in about a week and a half. I haven't done any work. I have work to do. I have a decent amount of work to do. I'm just not in it anymore. Like,
you're quiet quitting.
Maybe, yeah, but like it would be smart if I like use the time that I'm quiet quitting to look for a new job. No, I'm just kind of just like fuck this and watching YouTube videos or some shit all day.
McDonald's always hiring.
Maybe, but the last time I worked there, I broke my hand too. So
I mean, to my understanding, minimum wage $15 an hour.
I need more than that.
Overtime, man. You're hourly at McDonald's.
Fuck. Yeah, but I make more money in a job I hate than having to work overtime.
Look, man, I'm giving you options. Burger King?
Maybe. If anything, it would be...
You're off on every Sunday.
If anything, it would be Chick-fil-A, because they actually, like, they pay decent from what I recall, or remember hearing, and they actually get sick days and holidays and that.
But they also treat everybody else like the absolute shit.
Yeah, they treat all other people in the world like shit, but also at the same time, do they really? Because, like... Last I remember, but this was like 2 years ago, they stopped donating to the organizations that they were donating to that people didn't like.
So I think as a company they don't, but I think the people in charge of the company still do. Because I believe it's still owned by like the same family.
Yeah, but...
So like that's more what it is. It's kind of like, it's one of those like don't support the people that support hate is essentially it. Like unfortunately the people that work there probably don't like feel that way, but they need a job.
No.
So
yeah, job's a job.
Unless you hate it.
Well, I mean, it's still a job.
Or
even if
if like you're asked to like kill a bunch of puppies or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's still a job, unfortunately.
Yeah, but that's not a job that anyone should do.
No, but a job's a job.
Unless it's a career.
You know what? You're right there. A career of accidentally killing puppies?
I said nothing about accidental.
I thought you did say accidentally killing puppies. Oh. I mean, that is still a job. That could be a career if you work at a veterinary office or...
That is the first step to being a serial killer.
I mean, look, we're not going Dexter route here. I'm just saying, like, if you work at a veterinary office and sick puppies come in, unfortunately, if there's nothing else you can do to help them, you euthanize them, unfortunately.
Well, there you go, Rich. Found a new career for you.
I don't have the certifications and expertise or the actual emotional willpower to do that job. My first client would come and be like, nope, I'm done. I quit.
Right?
Or, I'll take him, don't worry. Yeah, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna inject him with anesthetic so he doesn't feel anything, and at that point, you guys can head on out and we'll take care of the rest. They head on out, and I bring them home.
That's theft, man.
They don't want it anyway.
You don't know that.
But they just got rid of it. They were just
They
just euthanizing it.
You're making a lot of assumptions.
Vet, and you're just stealing their dog at the vet.
They brought the dog.
Your default,
No.
They brought their dog into the vet, so you're going to
So it
tranquilize it
must be
and then
dying.
steal it.
No, they brought the dog to the
You
vet
didn't-
to
you
be
didn't-
euthanized.
You didn't even perform a proper medical exam.
Like, they literally brought it there. Like, that's the whole thing.
That's
I
not
was
how
saying
that
is,
works. You don't
if
just
it-
bring
if-
your dog in. They're just like, all right, yeah, we'll put it down for you. Like, you have to prove that. Like, come on now.
Yeah, I mean, you would be going to the same vet. Like, I wouldn't go to my everyday vet and be told bad news about my dog and then go to a different vet to get him euthanized. No, I would go to my same vet. So it would be, they would bring their dog to me because I might be the tech that does that at the veterinary
But you just said you don't
office.
have the certifications for it.
I don't. So, but like,
Then why are you stealing people's pets?
I'm not. I'm saying that what would happen in that scenario is I would end up, quote, euthanizing the pet, but just taking the pet home if it became a point where they just couldn't take care of the pet
So
anymore.
you want to take the dog
in a
home
medical
to
nature.
euthanize it?
No,
Man,
I
Man, now
want to take the dog home.
you're really
That-
going down the serial killer path, man.
I want to take the dog home and give it a good last few days, weeks, months, or whatever, and spend all my money making sure this dog is happy and living as long as possible.
And then dissect it to see how it worked.
No, I'm not Dexter. I'm not Dexter.
Anyway, Rich, what's on the agenda?
So we all, I believe, watched Tremors for book club. Then Cobb, you watched a movie called Holidays, I guess? I don't know.
Yes.
I actually finished Resident Evil 6 this past weekend, and I have a few little notes about Resident Evil 5 as well, because I didn't actually finish that when we talked about it last week. And Cobb, I guess, started reading Stormlight Archive.
Well, I'm done. All right. So, I guess, what did you guys think about Tremors?
It was exactly what I thought. I've seen it before. I've seen it several times before.
Was I the only one that hadn't seen it before?
Yep.
Okay.
Probably.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's more of the question, what did you think of it?
I thought it was goofy.
Yeah.
It was goofier. Like, I knew it was a comedy horror movie. And I've definitely seen bits and pieces of the other movies. Because I recognize some of the people, but definitely not from that movie. And it was goofy. Some of the parts just didn't make sense. Kevin Bacon is hell.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I thought Reba and her husband were fucking ridiculous, making
Yeah,
fucking
Bert is
pipe
the
bombs
greatest.
on their ceiling.
Bert, the actor who plays Bert, he has played some form of his relative in every Tremors movie, as far as I.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, he is like the one mainstay. Like, even there's one, I think it's Tremors 4, where it's like the Wild West. It's like a prequel, and it's like olden days. Plays a former relative or a past relative of Bert. Like, he's in as many of them as I can remember. I think it's Tremors 3. So as the movies go on, the graboids, they evolve. And I believe in Tremors 3, they actually get the ability to fly. And as they're trying to figure out what to call them, it turns out they shoot fire out of their asses, so they become the Ass Blasters.
Nice.
Yeah.
I know, like, just looking it up, I didn't realize that there was a pretty big gap between movies. Like,
Mhm.
like 1, 2, and 3 were all in the 90s, but, like, had, like, decent gaps between them. And then, like, I think it was 4 and 5 are in, like, the early mid-2000s, and then, like, 2015, I think, was when 6 came out.
Yeah, 4 and 5 and probably even 6 are all sci-fi movies. Because the channel sci-fi.
No, I know
Like,
what you meant.
I just wanted to clarify for anybody else. Because, like, that movie, those movies, all three of them, were constantly on that channel. I think they own those movies. Like, it's constantly on there. They're constantly playing them. At least they were back in the day. That, like, I believe some of them became, like, just straight up made for TV movies. And primarily sci-fi. I think I recall, like, the premiere on Sci-Fi for one of them once. I haven't watched much after 3, though. I just know they're ridiculous.
I mean, that tracks, though, for that sort of movie to be, like, sci-fi originals at a certain point.
Yeah.
I did think it was funny, though. I thought it was over the top, goofy, like, them pole vaulting between rocks. Because for whatever reason, these, not all that. So here's the thing that got me the most. So that I just thought was, like the dumbest. So they can't go through the rocks. Which is why they were safe on rocks.
Yeah.
They can completely collapse buildings. We saw that. But then at the end, when Kevin Bacon is, like, leading the one on, like, that chase at the end, and it bursts through the side of the cliff, like, that was a fucking rock. It burst through a rock.
Oh, the logic on the creatures is entirely non-existent.
Yeah, look, they needed the big explosion of guts and gore at the end, but also, here's my question, and it's about that rock part. Why did they camp out on the fucking rock all night?
Wait, what do you mean?
They could have pole vaulted during the day, that day before. Why did they camp out on the rock at night? It was like midday when they got on the rock.
Oh, that's true. I didn't even think about that.
Why did they, like, spend the night? I mean, obviously, plot device is really all it was.
Yeah, Kevin Bacon had to give his jacket to the girl.
Exactly. But still, like, that was the thing that made me laugh the most about it. Was like, of everything else in this movie, I'm like, I literally yelled, why the fuck did they stay on that rock overnight?
Especially when, like, they had, like, these, like, perfectly smooth, long poles to pole vault with.
And they all can pole vault, like, it's no problem.
The rocks were placed perfectly apart that they could get from there all the way to was it to the truck or to the house? It was to the truck, right?
It was to the truck, yeah. So I ended up watching the AMC version, which was the made-for-TV version. So it also had the commercial cuts in it.
Wait, did you actually have to watch commercials, or did it just go black and come back?
It went black and came back. Which just made me love this movie even more. Cause, like, I know I didn't miss much. Cause, like, the scene after the pole vaulting, and they get into the car, and drive away, and she's like, can somebody help me? Fade to black. Then they're in the, when it fades back, they're in the not the restaurant, the general store already.
I think that's actually how it went.
But, like, and does it, like, it's a hard cut to black. Was there a lot of hard cut to black in? I'm
pretty sure that was, at least that spot, I'm pretty sure was a hard cut. Like, it went from, yeah, like you said, like, the two guys in the bed of the pickup truck, her, like, hanging, like, with her, like, feet out of it as it, like, kind of swerves down the road and asking for help. And then the next thing you know, they're sitting in the restaurant telling people what happened and eating sandwiches and soup.
That is a wild 90s transition right there, man. Like, if that's legit how it is in the movie, like, oh my god, what kind of a transition is that?
Like, Drew, like, I'm not misremembering that, am I?
I don't think so. I can't remember anything that happens in between.
Yeah, like, that is what I remember.
Like, and it's not like I'm expecting, like, major story beats or anything, but, like, I was expecting, like, a fade to black and then them pulling up into the general store and walking in.
Well, no,
and
because then they have to explain how they got from their truck to the general store.
Well, the graboid didn't follow them there. That's all. But yeah, just these movies are just so over the top ridiculous. What was it? Paradise Valley, I believe is what the town is. Like, it gets super popular, and they feed off of the graboids for tourism in the next few, and it's great. I didn't talk to you.
Did your Google just pick up?
For some reason, both my home and my mini aren't really, like, connecting properly. I've tried, like, turning them off, turning them back on, unplugging them, like, resetting them, and just for some reason, it's probably whatever is the issue with my Wi-Fi. They just, like, they have trouble with stuff, and just randomly will say, oh yeah, I don't know what you're asking, even when I didn't ask it.
Yeah, so, it was like a week or two ago, our Google Home Mini, something on TV was talking about, like, a bad smell, and for some reason, the Google Home goes, all right, I'll take the fall for it this once, it was me, and I'll do it again. And it made like a loud farting noise.
Why?
Really?
Yeah. Like, nothing said Google. Like, we didn't, like, activate it or something like that. It was just... Yeah.
That's amazing. These fucking machines. Like, I kind of want to ask my home, like, what's that smell or whatever, but I know for a fact it'll just be like, I don't know what you're trying to say. Try again later, if I were to do it.
Probably.
Because I don't know what it has to be my Wi-Fi. I just haven't had time or the ability to call Verizon and troubleshoot it, because we're always constantly working and shit.
Yeah, you just do it middle of the day. Then you have an excuse not to work for a little while. My internet's out.
Oh, I can tell you what this a dumb thing about what I'm gonna have to do in the middle of the day with the internet being out. With work. They want us to test our devices somewhere else.
Oh, right, you mentioned that. So you have to, like, pack up your computer and, like, take it with you.
They haven't given us any more information, but they want to have it done by mid-November. From what my sister's telling me. And, like, we flat out, all we have to do is I have a desktop. We have to bring our desktop somewhere else, hook it up, plug it in, get the monitor going, log in, connect to the Wi-Fi, and connect to the VPN, just to make sure it works somewhere else.
So just gonna go to the parents' house?
I'm gonna tell them it's gonna take me 3 hours.
You don't live near anybody that's home and can allow you to do this.
Well, here's how it goes. It'll take me about 20 to 30 minutes to disconnect my PC, get all the wires and everything, and pack up my one monitor, my PC, my mouse, keyboard, and any cables that I need to go somewhere. Then, alright, to Eric's is maybe like 10-15 minutes. To my parents is probably closer to 15 to 20. So it'll take about a half hour to get there, and then about a half hour to set up, connect, check the thing, disconnect, and break down. And then another half hour to get home. Another half hour to connect back at home.
Alternately, just throwing this out there, you don't have any friends or family that live near you. Your closest friends are either like Tim, who lives out in PA, or your friends that live in Ohio.
Tim lives in North Carolina.
Oh, he moved?
He moved over a year
ago.
No,
like Tim that plays...
Oh, Tim Bolger. Oh, yeah, that Tim.
I don't know people's last names, man.
I know 2 Tims.
I didn't know that. I've only ever met one.
Well, now you do.
But yeah, that Tim, the one that plays bonus action. Like, he's in PA, right? Like Phoenixville or something like that?
Yeah, he's in PA, yeah.
So, like, that's at least a 6-hour drive, depending on what time of day. And, like, your friends in Ohio, that's a 2-day trip. You better get Monday and Tuesday off so you can test on Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's just, it's ridiculous. But back to Tremors. I love that these fucking worms, to kind of your point about the whole jumping off the ledge, they were smart enough to make a trap, but it wasn't smart enough to know that there was a fucking ledge there.
Yeah, and like it made a bunch, like, even when they were running from, because a similar thing happens when they were running from it near the beginning, and they run into, like, that, like, aqueduct ditch thing, where, like, it runs into, like, the cement and dies.
Yeah,
so I think that was that was how they kind of figured out that it couldn't go through stone.
Yeah, and it's like, I can admit that at that point they might not have been as smart, which is why it ran through that. But at the time that they started making a trap ahead of where they were going, somehow knowing where they were going, and it made a trap big enough to trap a freaking cat tank, or caterpillar, what's it called? Like, working thing? I don't know what those things are called. It's not an excavator.
Yeah, you know what? Like, I am drawing a fucking blank on what it's called now.
Yeah. Shovel thing. But like the fact that it was smart enough to make a ditch big enough for that, but it wasn't smart enough to know, oh, there's a ledge here, maybe turn left. It was just like, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, so some of the leaps in logic for that were kind of stupid. But, like, they also, like, some of the stuff they did made sense, you know? When they threw the short fused bomb into its mouth as it, like, popped up, it's like, that was clever. Like, that's a good way to kill one of those things, make it eat a bomb.
Yeah.
I feel like that's video game 101 right there.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
If the boss is a big mouth, you throw the bombs into the mouth.
Yeah.
Link's been doing it for 30 years.
But yeah, I love the Tremors series. It's absolutely wonderful.
In any of the ones that you've seen, do they ever, like, delve into where these things came from?
Now, as far as I can remember. They might but like it's actually been a long time since I've watched these. Since I don't have cable and don't have sci-fi, so I don't sit down to watch them. But as far as I can remember, in 2 and 3, they use the opportunity to create more graboids and say things like Ass Blaster on public television or cable television. But then maybe there's an explanation in 4 or 5, whichever ones are in the Wild West. Maybe that explains it. But no, there's not really as far as I know, there's not really a definitive explanation in any of the ones I've seen.
Which kind of makes it even better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed it, and I'm glad I finally watched that original one, because it was one of those things, it was never a movie that I purposely didn't watch. It was just never got around to it, and now I have. Though knowing that Kevin Bacon's not in the rest of them lowers how much I want to watch the rest of them.
They're still worth watching. You just again go into it with the same mentality of going into this first one. It was just this is just goofy. This is dumb and goofy, and why? But you're gonna love it.
Yeah, I mean, I did have a good time. It was just one of those Kevin Bacon was sort of the selling point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, do either of you have anything else you want to say about Tremors?
No, except so the second stage is known as a shrieker, which is they walk around and they actually yell and they see by sound again, but they're actually walking on the ground. And the third stage is the Ass Blaster. I looked it up, and apparently the Ass Blaster then lays the egg for the graboid. So they evolve. They're not evolving. They actually they grow up from graboid to shrieker to Ass Blaster.
That's good for them for knowing what they're doing.
Yeah,
good for them.
But speaking of Kevin Bacon, did you watch that trailer for the Christmas special?
No, I didn't.
Watch the trailer for the Christmas special. It's great.
I don't want to.
Why not?
Because it comes out next month.
Yeah, it's mid-November or something like that.
Yeah, I'd rather just wait for it and see it then.
Yeah, true. It's great though. It's great. I watched it. I'm not gonna watch anything else for it, but I watched the trailer, and it's so dumb. I love it. I love it so much. I
mean, as soon as I found out that he was doing a Christmas special for the Guardians, I'm like, okay, this is going to be just stupid, but in a good way.
Yeah, exactly. It's very Guardians Christmas.
But Drew, I believe you said earlier that you had a pick for the next book club.
Oh, I mean, that was mostly a joke, but we totally could.
Well, what was it?
It was something from the Gaming Historian YouTube channel, but...
Alright, well, pick something.
Alright, let me find one that's not only 10 minutes long.
Man, this guy's showing up unprepared.
Do-do-do.
So, while you're looking at that, just to segue for a minute, did you guys see that James Gunn is now co-heading DC's movies, television, and animation?
I saw you share that. I didn't get a chance to really read the post.
Yeah, no,
read the article or anything.
He is now one half of basically DC's Kevin Feige.
Nice.
So definitely not going to see him make any more Marvel stuff. But Peacemaker was fun, and Peacemaker was fun and different from Suicide Squad. And the Suicide Squad was fun too. So it at least bodes well.
Yeah, hopefully they actually figure out their shit and make these movies not so I wouldn't say that all of them were bad, but make them better.
Well, no, it's a complete fucking disaster now because who knows what the Flash is going to happen. Henry Cavill is officially back as Superman.
Mm-hmm.
But then they've still also got Robert Pattinson's Batman, which is a totally different Batman from what we saw in the Snyderverse.
Yeah. I saw an article about what's his name being Superman again, and it was it didn't say you just said his name and I forget it.
Henry Cavill.
It didn't say Henry Cavill is reprising his role as Superman. It says the actor who played Superman in Man of Steel and Dawn of Justice and this and is reprising his role. Henry Cavill is being Superman again. I'm like, why did you say it that way? We know Henry Cavill.
It would have been better if they said Geralt of Rivia is back as Superman.
Yeah. That's my thing though. That's also what I'm trying to agree with is you're gonna say the guy who originally played these characters in these movies is taking his role back. Why not say the guy who also plays these characters, the guy who was in Mission Impossible something or other as the hunky nerd, he is back at being Superman again.
Yeah. I mean, like, that is actually the way. But so doing it the way they did, it gets the most possibility of clicks.
Yeah, because then, like...
Because if they just say Henry Cavill is Superman again, no one has to click it. That's the fucking article. They spend 1,200 words telling you that Henry Cavill is Superman again. Drew, did you find one?
Okay, so 4 options. History of the ESRB, history of Tetris, history of Mario 3, or history of Mario World.
Rich, I'm going to let you pick.
Man, I don't... You know, Tetris, man.
Okay. I knew you were going to pick Tetris. I've heard that is, like, the story behind Tetris is actually fascinating, apparently.
It's wild from what I recall hearing. But, yeah, I haven't really looked into it or read up into it in, like, forever, so I can't really remember anything.
It's about, like an hour?
Okay.
59 minutes.
Can you throw I think you already did throw a link.
Just sent it in the Facebook chat.
Well, thank you. Oh, that is such a long link. Fuck you, Facebook.
Did it really send us?
Yeah, like I just right-clicked on it and said copy link, and it gave me like the Facebook like affiliate link, basically.
Oh, gee.
Fucking Facebook. Google started doing that now too. If you Google something and click on like one of the links, it prepends the URL with a fucking like Google bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
It's very annoying. Anyway, so the other day I think it was actually after we watched Tremors. We watched this movie on Amazon called Holidays.
What is that?
It is an anthology movie. They're mostly supposed to be horror movies. But it's basically it goes through a year of like the like prominent holidays. So it starts with Valentine's Day. So you get Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Halloween, and Christmas and New Year. So you get I want to say it was 7 holidays across like this hour and a half-ish movie. It was not good. It was incredibly fucking boring. So you figure like whatever the math is, like divide 7 into 90, and that's about how long each part was. They were all directed by somebody different. They all starred different people, like anthologies normally would. Kevin Smith actually directed the Halloween one, and it starred his daughter as well as the main guy from Epic Mealtime.
Okay.
And
oh man, what's his name?
Harley something or other.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But
he's the only guy left in Epic Mealtime.
Yeah, like they don't really do much anymore.
I was gonna say, is that channel even still active?
I think so.
I know like it's still listed as active. I don't know how often it gets updated, but yeah. So they had that one, and then Seth Green was in the Christmas one, and some of them had like a little bit of like a Black Mirror feel to them. Like actually, the Halloween and Christmas had very Black Mirror feels to them, but all the rest of them were just kind of fucking boring. Like the first one, the Valentine's Day one, was like a girl that gets picked on and has a crush on like her swim coach. So the girl that like teases her the most, she attacks her and cuts out her heart and then takes it to her teacher.
They literally just uploaded a video an hour ago.
Oh, okay. Wow. So it's like active still.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this, unfortunately, like this is one of those things where like Erica was just kind of scrolling through movies and she's like, oh, this sounds like it could be interesting. Cause like on paper, it sounds like it could be interesting. Trick or Treat from a handful of years ago, pretty good fucking anthology horror movie. But it has like an interesting through line through it also. So we ended up renting this because it's not just available for streaming, and it was fucking garbage. We were like 30 minutes into it, and I'm like, this is the dumbest fucking thing. Like, I haven't been interested in any of this. And she's like, yeah, like this wasn't good. But we paid like $4 for it, so we sat through the whole fucking thing. And now I'm here to tell everybody, don't fucking waste your time. It's just like the Kevin Smith one was funny, if nothing else. Like it went too far, like, and too long, but like bits of it were funny. The Seth Green one, so much fucking Black Mirror in that one. He basically he's trying to buy like a VR AR sort of headset thing for his kid for Christmas, and the store's closed. It's apparently Christmas Eve, so he's a shitty parent, and a guy buys the last one ahead of him. And that guy, like, has, like, a heart attack. Or like, he basically falls on the ground and can't reach his pills. It's one of those things. And Seth Green, instead of helping him, just takes the headset and leaves. And lets him die on the ground. And the headset's supposed to show you, like, the real you. So, like, he starts seeing, like, this guy dying and stuff like that. Like, from, like, the guy's point of view instead of... And, like, so sees him. Like, it's very fucking weird. And it ends with his wife, apparently a serial killer. like just out of nowhere, like his wife was just kind of shitty to him the whole like snippet, and then like at the end, like he puts the headset on and sees her like having her boss tied to a chair in like a plastic like Dexter room, beating him with a hammer. It's like, okay, yeah, no, this makes zero sense, but it very much had that like technology is bad Black Mirror vibe. So like, yeah, just total waste of fucking time and money. Don't bother with it.
It makes you wonder, like, where, like, why they went with Amazon and releasing it as a full feature. Like, I'm looking at the wiki, and it was premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival in 2016. And then it was released through VOD, and that's it. Like, this sounds like something that I definitely would watch if it were, you know, on Netflix, and like each segment was its own thing, and I could like watch a few and then walk away, because that's what Love, Death, and Robots is. It's different writers, different animators, different directors making 2 hours worth of content to watch in a season. Like, why did they go with the route of releasing it on VOD as a single release? That's weird.
Yeah, and
I don't know why they did that.
But like, so anthologies, like, they're not super uncommon. Like, especially like horror anthology. Definitely a thing. Definitely works when it's like one feature-length thing that's just like broken up into like a bunch of like individual like vignettes. This one is just not good. And like looking at the Wikipedia for it, like the reception, it's basically 50. It's 50% on Rotten Tomatoes, with an average,
damn, it's only 105 minutes. You had to pay $3 for that shit. Fuck.
$4.
$4 for that shit. Fuck.
Yeah. And like it was a bad fucking, it was not worth that. Like $4 isn't a big deal. Like, I don't mind that I spent the money on it if there was any true entertainment value to it. But like, I would have had a better time watching fucking wrestling.
I honestly can feel you on it. Like, that sucks. That sucks that was how it was.
Whereas like, I'm pretty sure like when we watched Trick or Treat a couple years ago, and it was just free on streaming, and like that movie's fucking fantastic. And then this one, huge fucking disappointment. But like knowing that it premiered at Tribeca, like that actually tracks, because this feels like a film festival movie that probably did well with that sort of crowd. Because like film festivals always kind of like draw like the very like artsy movies, and I feel like that's what this was going for. Like it was trying to tell you something different, and like it just fucking failed miserably at being entertaining.
Volume 3 of Love, Death, and Robots was 130 minutes, and that was free. So
no, it was part of Netflix.
Yeah, but it is free because you're not paying your monthly fee for Netflix. You're paying to have Netflix to have access to all this. It was.
That sounds like you rationalizing you paying for Netflix every month.
No, yeah, like yes, you had to pay to watch it, but you didn't have to pay to watch just that.
Well,
you had to pay to watch everything that's available.
Here's the question: the month you watched that, did you watch anything else on Netflix?
Absolutely, I did. Probably Community or Seinfeld or Kim's Convenience or
okay.
I'm trying to think of the shows that I watch when I go to bed at night because
that doesn't count because you're going to bed. You're not watching it.
I mean, I'm sure I probably did watch something here or there. I'm not sure, but
okay,
I'm sure I did.
Okay, I'll allow it then.
We probably had a book club thing that I had to watch on that.
Yeah, maybe Ip Man or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or that
I don't know anymore.
I don't know either. Is there like kids screaming outside, Rich?
Yeah, my windows are closed. Like
I couldn't tell if that was a child's scream or if it was just like a random like squeak.
No, they're just literally that fucking loud outside.
Yeah, no, children are the fucking worst.
My front door was open, and like they weren't that loud. And then as I asked Jensen to close the door and as she was leaving, they got louder with the door closed.
Yeah, no, kids are the fucking worst. Because they do. They just stand outside and scream for no reason.
I mean, it's also one of my windows, the top window doesn't stay sealed shut, so it like slowly inches down over a course of months. And like there's like a crack, but it's still that crack wouldn't.
Why don't you just
set up?
Why don't you just lock your window so it can't do that?
I've done that before, and my window locks are now broken because
what the fuck, man?
My windows are fucking old, man. Like they're old as shit.
Man, just burn your house down
like
and start
30
over.
Years old. I would love to, man. These windows are younger than me, but maybe older than Jensen. I mean, it's only 2 year difference.
Just wait until Jensen and Kwame go out. Move your stuff into the backyard. Just fucking light them out.
I would love to. Absolutely love to.
Uh,
Do I have to wait for them to move out? Can they just be away on vacation?
no, I didn't say move out. I said wait till they leave, meaning like
Okay.
go out. Because like fuck their stuff, that doesn't matter. But like you don't
Yeah.
want them in the house when it happens. That's
Sure.
That's homicide.
Yeah.
Like if you get caught for arson, you don't also want to get caught for murder.
True. True.
One of them is like insurance fraud. The other one is murder.
Yeah, I guess you're right on that one.
Speaking of murder, how was Resident Evil 6, Rich?
So, before we get into 6, last week we talked a little bit about 5, and I ended up beating it after stream on Wednesday last week at like fucking 2:30 in the morning, something like that. It was only supposed to take me like 4 hours. It took me like 6 or more. I can't remember, but fuck the end of that game. Literally fuck the end of that game. Somehow they turn it into a cover shooter, which like it's the shittiest cover shooter ever. You can't cover behind everything. Only things that have black and white lines on it, or black and yellow lines on it. And in order to like lean out or pop out, it's just not good. And to reload, you have to pop out of cover to draw your weapon to hit the reload button.
That
So,
sounds
yeah.
normal.
No. You don't pop out of cover to reload your gun. That's what you go into cover for. And then because that game is built around co-op, like you have to manage the other characters' resources, make sure they have enough health, make sure they have enough ammo. But also there are several boss fights that require more strategy than you can really do with an AI controlled character. For instance, Wesker, the final fight with Wesker is the absolute bullshit, because he does this move where like you have to wait for him to do this move where he raises his arms, and then you have to get behind him to shoot him. But you can't get behind him to shoot him if he's aiming at you. And 9 times out of 10, he's aiming at you, the player. So you have to like kind of like be standing right next to him the entire time for him to stand still to get ready to do his attack to get behind him to shoot him. And it's just he has an ability that's a one-hit kill no matter how much health you have. That your AI character, my AI character got caught in that so many times, and that I ended up at one point just like I had enough points to buy a bunch of grenade ammo, because I was also running out of ammo fighting this boss multiple times, where I was trying to kill him with the knife at a few points. I ended up just buying a bunch of grenade ammo and killed him in one phase, because I was able to do that at that point. But it's just like that has now become my least favorite Resident Evil game.
Even behind Zero.
Yes, with an asterisk of if you play it with somebody, it redeems itself.
Did you do any co-op with it?
No, I did no co-op with Zero.
Then how do you? No,
Or with when I originally played it, I did it all co-op.
but that was a decade ago.
Yeah, but like I still remember how the game went with co-op, and it like based on my experiences with this, if you had somebody else with you and you could coordinate your attacks and coordinate who he's aiming at, and like swap ammo and whatnot properly, you could easily handle it. The worst part is you cannot swap weapons in the middle of a fight. So if I run out of ammo for all of my weapons, and the other person has all the ammo for all of their weapons, you can't give them weapons. You can only give them ammo. So, like, playing solo, it ends up being you use Sheva as a mule to carry around all the ammo in the world, while you're carrying around all the guns and shit.
That sounds like the best way to play.
It was the worst. It was the worst. I literally, like, what I did is I would upgrade every pistol that I got, and just, like, to the fullest, and just give it to her. And I did not run around with a pistol. She had pinpoint accuracy and aim on enemies that did not have mechanic, and would kill things constantly. Like, she was what got me through that game. But, like, all of the ammo I was getting was for the pistols. And that's it. I wasn't getting any ammo from my weapons.
Which, that sucks.
Yeah, it was, at the end of it all, it was the least fun out of any of the games. I had to play through Resident Evil 0 twice. This was the least fun out of any of them. But going into 6, I was down on it, because, like, I remember playing it back in the day, and, like, not necessarily liking it, but for certain reasons, and mostly because of the disjointed multiple storylines. Instead of them just doing one full storyline, they had 4 different ones that are all like separate separate times during the thing, but they all connect and whatnot. And that game is better than I remember it being. It was a solid game. It is fun. It is not a survival horror. It is not a traditional Resident Evil, in a sense of survival horror. But it does a lot of neat things with, like, skill abilities to where you can, like, between missions, or when you die or when you start up, you can buy skill points and you can set up, like, different skill sets. Like, I think it's up to 12 skill sets. So, like, I generally ran around with max firearms, max critical hits, and max damage to whatever type of enemy those characters were facing. So, like, when you played as Ada, she fought both zombies and Yavo, so I switched back and forth between the 2 sets. But you could have it where they gave you could have it where they gave you a lot of items. They gave you more item drops, and that's like one way to like grind for more points, is getting the better item drops. The most redeemable part about this game is the AI character, although doesn't do a lot of damage, has unlimited ammo and unlimited health.
Oh, I didn't realize that game actually had AI characters with you.
Yeah, if you play solo, you get an AI character with you that does not fucking matter. You don't have to worry about them. They always get out of scenarios. They always get out of situations. Like, you have to worry about yourself and not them, which is the best part out of Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6, with all of them having AI characters. Even 0 to an extent. 0, you controlled both of them and switched back and forth. But if you weren't controlling one, you controlled the other with your other joystick. Even with 0, like, this was better, because if you were playing just solo, the other person, they did their thing. They did what they needed to do. So if there was a puzzle, or if they needed to shoot something to get them off you, they did that. But they didn't generally overshoot, because they didn't have an ammo count. They had unlimited ammo. They didn't have health. They had unlimited health. They could keep getting hit. But, like, they also stayed out of the way to make you do it. So the AI kind of worked better, in my opinion, because I didn't have to worry about them. So it was like they weren't there. Whereas in, like, 4 and 5, you have to manage resources for both you and the AI character. If Sheva dies, game's over. You're done too. And, like, there's instances in Resident Evil 5 where you and Sheva have to split apart from each other. And if you do that and can't get back to them, you have to restart that segment.
Oh, see, you know what? I don't remember that at all.
Yeah. So the thing that, like, I remember the most from this playthrough and the last of 5 is there's a room that you have to climb up into an elevator and go up. And as you're going through these rafters, only one of the characters can go through them. As you're going through the rafters, type 2 lickers are coming out, which their hearing is a little bit more sensitive and they're stronger, but they still can't see. Sheva, or you, whoever is not up there, is on the ground, and they just have to travel around the rafters to get to a room, to unlock a door, to get a switch and whatnot. Whereas the other one is, like, shooting the lickers as they're coming out. But, like, the lickers can also attack them. So it was the hardest decision for me to figure out, do I send the AI up into the rafters and try to defend them, or do I go up in the rafters and try to defend myself and hope Sheva's okay down here? Because if Sheva dies, like, she'll have health and she can heal herself if she needs to. She has healing. But if she, like, falls unconscious and I can't raise her in time, I have to restart this part all over again. And, like, that's a lot of the problem with 5, is if your AI-controlled character does something stupid and you're separated from them, you gotta restart because the computer was dumb.
Yeah, no, that does actually sound super frustrating. Like, I played that game in 2009, so, like, I don't remember that at all. But I remember not having any issues with the AI at the time. Like, when I think back on that game, like, I remember being able to use the AI as almost, like, bait at times. And, like, hanging out, like, on, like, high ledges and just sniping the enemies from far away while, like, the AI was kind of, like, the one drawing fire. Or not fire, but, like, drawing attention.
No, like, the AI works wonders. If you set the AI to cover mode, they'll cover you and defend you, and that's how I had her most of the time. But if you have the AI set to attack, they just go. And they have pinpoint aim. But it's like they end up using a lot more ammo that way because they're shooting at everything instead of defending you. So it's like, it's a catch-22, and it's just, when it comes to Resident Evil 5, like, because it was built around a co-op, there's too much management needed for something that's beyond your control at times. Whereas in Resident Evil 6, it's built for co-op. Like, to support co-op, you don't have to worry about that. And that's, like, a very redeemable quality to me. And it's what made the game more fun as well, because it's like, alright, well, I'm running around as Jake. I don't need to worry about Sherry. Let's just get these objectives done. Let's kill this. Let's do that. And like whenever Sherry was in a Sherry-only spot, the AI worked the AI worked the way it needed to work to progress. Not the way a normal player would play, but the way it needed to work to progress. So it was like, they were solid. Both of them had very solid AIs. But like, it's just, yeah, when it comes to Resident Evil 5, it is just so bad. But 6, like, I stand by my issues of they should have found a way to just combine it all into a single story playthrough, because it does get repetitive at times when I'm playing as Chris doing the Europe stuff and we get into a boss fight where Sherry and Jake are there with us, and then I go play as Sherry and Jake and I have to do that boss fight again. And it's not really that particularly great of a boss fight. Like the Europe stuff was kind of just boring. But like, then there's also, like, you're playing as Leon and you run into Sherry and Jake and there's a boss fight. Like, that is a little bit more of a fun fight, but why did I have to do that twice? Especially since you have a New Game Plus mode, you probably could have programmed it in that, like, since it's tracking who you beat the game with, if you track that I beat the game with Leon, anytime Leon and Sherry interact in a gameplay fashion, you already did this as one, you don't have to do it as the other thing. Like that's really that's pretty much my biggest complaint. That, and there were just some sequences that just weren't needed. There was a whole sequence with Ada in a helicopter that was just like, it took too long. And let's see, what else? There was Ada in a helicopter that took too long. And this is the funniest thing. It was the final fight with Jake and Sherry against Ustank, where it was in a full-on cutscene, and they grab a gun and they're getting ready to do the last shot, and then it cuts the cutscene to go into rendered gameplay, or to go into a gameplay in-engine stuff, so you can get the QTE to shoot the gun, and then it cuts back into the pre-rendered cutscene. Like, it literally fades to black, in-engine, fades to black, cutscene again.
Yeah, I remember when 6 came out, like, it had a lot of complaints for just, like, the pacing and stuff like that.
Yeah. And it's a lot of, because if you're going to do all the storylines, you have to play through the same parts at times.
Yeah, and doesn't it have unskippable cutscenes? Or am I misremembering that?
I don't think it does. I did skip a few cutscenes, because I played through both Jake and Sherry and Chris and Pierce's story in the same stream. So anytime those two interacted in a cutscene, I skipped it because we had already seen that cutscene 5 hours ago.
Okay.
So it did have skippable cutscenes. But it didn't have skippable scenes that you already did, like fighting bosses.
Which, I mean, that's fair. Like, if you do New Game Plus, you still have to fight a boss.
Yeah. And, like, for the most part, the game did very well with not reusing resources from other stories. With the exception of when they cross, they generally, both characters were in different areas. The only time that I experienced, like, a very bad level of reusing resources was Ada's story. Ada's story was just, she's just following behind the entire time, basically. And so she's going through everyone's story right behind them. So you're going back through a lot of the areas the characters have either already been through or gonna go through later. So, like, that's kind of like, oh man, they could have cut a lot of this. They could have changed this. They could have used something different. They did really good before all this, but that was like the only thing that, like, kind of sucked. I didn't get into any of the other additional modes. Mercenaries is Mercenaries. There's not really much to talk about that. There was a mode where you can jump into, like, another player's game as a zombie and, like, try to fight them and whatnot. I didn't jump into that mode, but I don't think there's a lot of support for it anymore anyway.
Yeah, they're probably.
So, I wasn't even going to try. But yeah, it had a lot of a lot more redeemable features in the game that made me enjoy it more than I thought I was going to. But I also went into it with a like, oh man, I remember not really liking this game feeling and dreading playing it because it was 20 hours, but it was 20 enjoyable hours. Like, there was only a few points where I'm just like, all right, this didn't need to happen, or man, why are they back here type of stuff. And that was mostly during Ada's campaign.
Man, you're one of like 6 people that enjoys that game.
If you go to Steam, all-time positive.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you go to, like, I mean, yeah, there are user reviews, whatever, but if you go into the Steam reviews of Resident Evil 6, it's mostly positive reviews.
Well, good for that game.
Even as of recent, too. Like, it's wild. That, like, as of, like, recent reviews, even. Let's see, I'm looking at it right now. Why did it... 282 recent reviews. 76% of 282 users' reviews in the last 30 days are positive. 80% of the 28,000 reviews are positive. Like, it's a very positively reviewed game. So, and people I talked to were like, yeah, we actually enjoyed this game. Or like, it was a good game, but like, I did talk to a lot of people that was just like, I had somebody come into my stream every day I played it and was like, what can I do to get you to not play this? And I had enough of it on like the last day. I was like, bro, you have tried to get me to stop playing this for 3 days. Either stop coming to the stream through this game, or acknowledge that it's not as bad as what you remember.
Was it Eric?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was somebody else.
I mean, some people really do get that, like, there's a chance that person either never played it or played it once in 2012.
Oh, he played it once in 2012 and never looked back.
And like that's the same argument I had against people who look at like Resident Evil 4 with nostalgia and like say that it is still a good game. Like, no, it deserves the praise it got in 2005. It is a fucking broken mess by today's standards.
Yeah, it is still a good game, but if I had my choice of what games to play, I would probably go for 6 before 4 for sure. And I as of this point in time, I enjoyed 6 more, and I had better time with 6 than I did with 4. And I think 6, although yes, it is 8 years newer or younger, it used what Resident Evil 4 had better. Yeah.
But yeah, I think Drew and I can agree that your opinions are generally wrong.
Yeah, I'm just a Capcom fanboy here, so
I mean, that is true.
Yeah.
You do love you some Monster Hunter.
No, I'm not denying that. Like, I literally I have built my stream around Capcom, Monster Hunter, Resident Evil, and Mega Man. When
are you going to get into Street Fighter?
I can't do fighters.
I mean, you can. You're just choosing not to.
No, I can't. They're not fun to me.
Get yourself a nice hitbox.
Mm-hmm.
Make a whole new fighting game.
A hitbox? What?
It's a controller. It's like all buttons instead of like an analog stick.
Yeah.
They are one of like the preferred things for like high level like fighting games.
Okay.
Do they really get used in a lot of like actual fighting games? I know they're super popular for Smash Brothers, but like I don't know how popular they are for like Street Fighter or Mortal.
So
maybe
I think
Mortal Kombat, because
I think
Mortal
Street
Kombat's
Fighter.
smooth.
So, and that's the thing. I think Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter might actually still be more traditional like arcade sticks, but I think some of the more like specials are not like necessarily like directional input related. That
okay, like Tekken and
things where it's more like you just need to be able to move in different planes and counter and attack and stuff like that.
Yeah,
because like you don't have to do quarter circles in all fighting games,
right? But you absolutely do in Street Fighter
and Mortal Kombat, unless Mortal Kombat has changed.
Mortal Kombat's never had quarters.
That's how you do Sub-Zero's Ice.
Nope, it's just down forward.
I always just did the quarter circle motion for it.
Right, but, I mean, yes, but it does not actually, the down right input is not required. Like, if
I never noticed that.
Hit down then right, you would do the freeze. But if you were to just hit down then right and try to do a fireball in Street Fighter, doesn't work.
Yeah, no, because it is a quarter circle. I just assumed like Sub-Zero's ice was quarter circle because I did the same motion for both.
Yeah, no, it's just down forward. All
Like,
Street Fighter. Or,
You rub your
MK's
thumb
moves.
across the D-pad until the fucking move happens.
Mhm.
You build up that nice callus.
I kind of now actually don't know that Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, at least like 1, 2, and 3. I don't know if it really has diagonal input.
Honestly, it might not. And like, I mean, maybe in the arcade
guess-
it does, but not for like movement or not
Yeah.
for like specials.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like you do jump in still MK.
Yeah, because
Like,
you
it
can
does have
definitely
that
diagonal jump and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it does have like a flying kick, so not that needs diagonal, but like your characters can move on that diagonal axis. So I imagine the controls would be supported.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rich. So next month, Street Fighter V.
No, I already have so many suggestions of other game series I should play through. I had one friend was like, you should do God of War, because I was talking about whether or not I'm going to be doing God of War initially or not, or like at launch. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get my capture card because I needed to use my Twitch money to actually pay bills. So I'm hoping to get it soon, but
That's a shame too, because like those Elgatos aren't that expensive either. But like at the
No,
same time, like gotta pay bills or you don't have a place to stream.
Yeah.
the thing that pisses me off is the Elgato I was going to get was on sale.
Which one are
A
you going to
week
get?
before,
Like the HD 60 or whatever?
It was like the mid-tier one, like the cheaper of the two or whatever. I can't remember, but it was like it was 120 as opposed to like 160 or some shit like that, 170. And I was like, fuck,
yeah, 120 is actually not a bad price.
Yeah, and I was like, I should have bought it then. But like when I went to go buy it, wasn't on sale, and I was like, shit, I gotta pay bills first. So I'm hoping I should be able to get it within the next couple of weeks. But I don't think I'm gonna do God of War at launch, because I think that game is big enough to where that's gonna lower my what's the word? What was the word I was using? It's gonna lower my views. Basically, it's gonna lower my not views, exposure, because of how many people are going to be playing or God of War. That I'm just like, I'll pick something else, but I have other games I need to play before doing that.
I mean,
so now
Pokemon's coming still.
Oh yeah, Pokemon is a game that, like, even though it'll probably lower my exposure, I'm still probably just going to do that right away, just because, like, I think that game isn't going to be as big as God of War. Like, playing God of War at launch, it was going to be as bad as it was playing Elden Ring at launch on stream. It's just, I'm not going to get anybody new. I'm not.
Yeah.
But Pokemon might be a little bit less. But also, I've built my community sort of around Pokemon as well. So it kind of might work.
That's true. You did play quite a bit of Pokemon, like, at different points,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I've had Legends Arceus on there. I've had, I did Pokemon Unite once or twice. And, like, everyone knows, like, one of my redemptions is to have a plushie, Absol just hang out on my chair. They know I like Pokemon, so.
But do you have anything else you want to say about Resident Evil?
No. If you're somebody who hated on Resident Evil back in the day, give it another shot. It's not a horror game. It's not a horror movie either. But one of my viewers laid it out the best way. Capcom saw their animated Resident Evil movies and said, let's turn this into a game.
Did those animated ones come out before 6?
Back and forth, yeah, both before and after.
I didn't know
we
that.
had some that, yeah, we had. There were some that came out right after 5. We had some that came out that took place before 4. That came out after 5. Like they're all over the place.
So I never watched any of them. So
they're solid. They're not like the best things ever. But they're solid sci-fi action films.
I'll take your word for it. I will probably never watch them, but that's good that they're not bad.
Yeah.
But I will absolutely not play 6.
I mean,
I don't own it.
Fine.
So
That's fine.
Oh, what are we up to? Okay, so I've read like 4,000 pages worth of this fucking series. It's a lot of pages.
That's too many pages.
It's a lot of pages.
How many of them had pictures on them?
I don't know, maybe a dozen.
It's not enough pictures.
No, there are very few pictures, but when there are pictures, they're very well done.
Yeah, but I need PALs and WAMs and smacks.
Oh yeah,
Cracks.
no. These pictures are generally like diagrams and like maps and shit like that.
Yeah, that's not a good picture. This book sucks. Why do I keep wanting to say movie?
Because you're bad at things.
I am bad at things.
No, but super interesting series. So I'm on book 4 right now. Which there are only 4 books out at the moment. Out of a planned 10. So there's a lot of stories still to go. But it's like a high fantasy book. So it's in a world that's like besieged by war. I talked a little bit about the first book when I started it back in August, because I was complaining about the narration of the audiobook.
Yeah.
Which I eventually grew accustomed to like the delivery of the woman, and it does not irk me as much anymore. But I do kind of like swap off and on. Like if I'm like walking the dog or like something like that, like I might listen to a chapter. But then at night I usually like read a chapter or two. But yeah, it's basically like in this world, like 1,000 years prior, there was this order of knights, and they basically all had like superpowers. But they had like different superpowers based on like what like group they were a part of. So like you had some that could fly and that could make other items fly or other people. You had some that could do like illusions on themselves and others. You had some that could heal or like slide, like they basically make their bodies slick and literally just like skate across grass.
So wizards with only one spell.
Yeah, kind of.
That's boring, man. Why not give your wizards like 4 spells at least?
Well, so it makes them, it gives them like this, they're not all powerful is basically it. And they basically have limited mana. In order to do this, they have to have Stormlight. That's why it's called the Stormlight Archive, which they get from like gems, which they are also used as currency in this world. And the gems, as you use them, like you draw the light out of them, and they go out. And then there's this storm that encompasses the whole world. It's basically like a hurricane that never ends. So it just circles the planet, and like once every like week or two, it comes back by like the same path. And it recharges all of their stones with more stormlight. And then anyone that has these powers also has like sometimes invisible, but like sometimes not invisible spirit thing that is like their companion and their friend, I guess would be the best way to put it, that grants them the power that they get. But it also gives them like a cool ass sword that they can like summon and change at will.
Okay.
And the way the sword works is if it's an inanimate object, it will cut through it like butter. Like, doesn't matter what it is. That you can literally use this sword to like carve mountains without any real resistance. If it's through like an organic thing, like a living person, it does not leave any marks. The sword will pass directly through the person. Wherever it passes through, it they basically describe it as severing the soul. So the best comparison for you, Rich, and Drew, I don't think you would get it, is when the third Hokage takes Orochimaru's arms.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind
So Orochimaru is a snake man. And the Hokage is the king of the village. So let's look at it this way.
Such a bad description.
So Orochimaru is the quarterback, and the third Hokage is the guy who's going to blitz the quarterback. But unfortunately, the guy who's going to blitz the quarterback didn't get there quite on time, and was only able to like maybe knock his arms. So it would have been a pass interference, because that's a stupid fucking rule in my opinion. But it would have been a pass interference, but then Orochimaru, the snake man, the quarterback, couldn't do his thing anymore because of that. Does that help?
No.
Okay.
It's alright. Rich, you understood the description.
Yes, absolutely.
So like if you cut somebody with your sword and you just cut their arm, they lose all feeling and use of that arm. They describe it as actually like the color drains out of it. If you were to like cut somebody at the neck or like through their spine or heart, it's just instant death. They describe it as their eyes like burning, basically, like smoke comes out of their eyes and they just drop dead. So it's very much like if you have one of these swords, you can just completely decimate armies. And these knights have them, and they're tied to their like partner spirit thing. In the past, though, the order basically gave up. They found out like a dark secret, and they all just abandoned their like duty or what have you, and threw their swords away. And in doing so, they killed the spirits that like created their swords.
No.
Yeah, it's really sad. So in like the present time, people still use these swords, and it's basically if you keep the sword with you long enough, eventually it will bond to you, and then you can summon and release it within 10 heartbeats. But it's a dead spirit basically inside the sword. So it's like taboo once they start finding out about it. It's interesting. Like the whole world is very interesting. And it's basically like it starts out where it's just kind of like two opposing armies fighting each other, but like no one really seems to have a good reason why they're fighting each other than the one army happened to kill the other army's king because he was maybe doing something like shady. But rather than like calling anybody on it, they just hired an assassin to murder him. But like it slowly escalates to by the third book, they're fighting like one of 3 gods that used to rule the world. And yeah, it's wild.
That seems interesting. I'm gonna need a full book report on it so I can use it potentially as inspiration for a D&D campaign.
Actually, like, no lie, like the whole Stormlight Archive series, like, it has a lot of really cool concepts that would actually go really well in that. And
except wizards need more than one spell.
So no, I mean
I'm not
you're not
legitimately
wrong. You're not
I'm
wrong.
not legitimately complaining about that though. It's like it's an interesting concept. They're not wizards. They're more like they're quirks, but they're quirks that work on other people.
But so you're not wrong though. Like a wizard would have more than one spell. So to use like one of the main characters in the book, he is a windrunner is what like his like group is called. He's one of the ones that can essentially fly. Except he's not flying, he's literally changing the pull of gravity on himself or other objects. So he has what they call lashings, where he can, if he lashes himself up, it literally makes the ceiling the floor for him. So if he does that and he's outside, he will just fall into the sky. Mm-hmm. If he does it inside, though, he can literally just walk across the ceiling. As he gets better with it, he can kind of seamlessly change his lashings from, like, the floor to the wall to the ceiling and like almost like run a spiral around a room, or fly through the air because he'll just constantly kind of like increase or decrease how much of a lashing he has to like control how high he is, and then lash himself in whatever direction he wants to travel in. But he can also do that to objects, so he can make like an object either fall into the sky or like get pinned against a wall, for instance. And the more power he pumps into it, the more force he can give it. So, like, one lashing, things will move at, like, a normal speed. But if he did, like, 10 of them, it's going to, like, fly like a fucking bullet. Mm-hmm. And they even show early on before he, like, learns how to harness it, he instinctively pulls arrows to him that are being fired at, like, his squad, and into, like, a wood, like, thing in front of him. Just by, like, instinct of using this power.
Okay.
And then, like, the people that can, like, slide, they can make their whole body slippery, which is super fucking weird. But those people can also heal, which, like, those two things don't necessarily go together. And it seems like all of them can heal themselves. If they get injured and they have Stormlight, they can regenerate from almost anything, including if one of the special swords cuts them. If it cuts them through, like, their neck or, like something that would be, like, instant death, they're dead. Like, there's nothing they can do about it. But, like, multiple characters have had, like, limbs cut and then have, like, restored them once they have it. Some characters have even, like, learned how to use the power, like, later on after they've had, like a missing arm or, like, a missing eye. And once they learn how to harness it, they're actually able to, like, regrow, like, entire, like, severed arms.
Nice.
Yeah, like, there are two characters in particular. One guy, like, he's introduced in the book with just, like, he lost his arm at some point as, like, a child. And another guy just was missing an eye the whole time. They never explain why. He's had an eye patch the whole time. And then, like, at a certain point, they both learn how to use Stormlight, and, like, they just regrow those two things. Mm-hmm. It would actually, it's the sort of series that would actually probably be really interesting as, like a Netflix series or an Amazon series, like a network that would actually pour, like, a budget into it so that it didn't look like shit.
Yeah.
Because it has too much going on to be, like, a reasonable movie.
Yeah, it seems like I would. It seems like it's a book that I might actually get into if I were to read it, but reading and me are bad.
Audiobook, my friend.
Yeah, I could try that.
Honestly, like, I forget if you're against it or not. I know Drew doesn't like the sped up audio, right?
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So I found that like with this series in particular, if you set it to 1.25, it has a much more like normal like conversational pace, at least to me. So like audiobooks seem to be very like they take their time and really like pronounce and pause and stuff like that, where just that quarter speed up just makes it sound a little more like it flows better.
Mm-hmm.
And like these books are like 50-hour audiobooks that you you get done a little faster that way.
Yeah.
But you're right, based on some of the stuff that you like, you'd actually probably really enjoy it, but it's also like it is a big commitment. Like a 50-hour audiobook is a lot of fucking time.
Yeah. I mean, I would probably try reading it first, and it's not as much like when it comes to reading off a computer, I just don't do well. When it comes to reading out of a book, it takes me a while, but like I actually can get through books. It's more of just like when it comes to reading a book, because I don't like when it's too quiet, I have to have like the right atmosphere in order to read a book. There has to be some nice music, there has to be nothing going on, I need to have everything off, except for lights, obviously. And it's just like, I can never get that perfect atmosphere sometimes. To where, like, even when I am reading a book, I'm, like, not losing interest, but I'm just, like, my mind's all over the place, like, and I'm looking all over the place, and then, like, losing track in the book.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that. Honestly, if you're interested, I have a physical copy of the book that I'm happy to lend you if you want to give it a shot. Of the first in the series.
I'll think about it.
Like, it's long, but it's definitely
4,000 is a lot of pages.
Well, I think the first book is... Hang on. It was right next to me, so I was able to open it up. The first book is less than 1,000 pages.
It's a lot of pages.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It is 1,001 pages.
That's the right amount of pages.
Yeah. I think the third or fourth book, one of the last two are like 1,200.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're very thick books. But, the first one definitely has that, like, the first, like, 10-ish chapters are very slow, but the characters are interesting. So, like, there's not a lot happening, but they're introducing you to a lot of, like, the cast. And they're making you care about them.
Maybe I'll start doing reading streams.
That's a thing.
It is a thing. People do it.
Just read like 2 chapters on your stream?
Yeah.
Yeah, do
It's
it.
wild that's a thing, but that's a thing. People love their audiobooks and stuff, so people like going to their favorite streamer and just listening to them read a book.
You got to start doing voices and stuff, though, and you've said yourself you are uncomfortable doing voices for other people.
I mean, I've been doing some voices whenever when there is audio, like when there is like dialogue, I've been doing some voices. I get a little bit more comfortable doing voices when I have actual lines than it is when I'm just told to go off the cuff. That's where I have the problem. Like improving with a voice, that's where I have a little bit of a I don't know what to say, but like reading a script, I got this voice. I got you.
Yeah, and like for what it's worth, like the series tackles like a lot of like it actually tackles a lot of like mental health stuff in some interesting ways. And like reading through like the acknowledgments and stuff in the book, like the author, it's Brandon Sanderson. It's the guy who I got the book signed at Comic-Con, right?
Yeah.
Like he has acknowledgments in the book for like mental health experts that like he like consults with before just like writing the characters the way he does. So, one of the main characters definitely has depression. And, like, you see it where, like, sometimes he's in a relatively good mood and, like, he's enjoying things, but, like, the next page, like, everything just comes, like, crashing down on him and, like, he just starts, like, dwelling on all of the negative things, no matter how good things happen to be going at that time. And, like, to be fair, like, his life kind of sucked up to a certain point. Like, he joined an army that he didn't really want to join to try and protect his brother, who then died in that army. And then his entire squad was murdered by their commander, and he was branded a slave. And then he was basically sent to like a different army platoon, to act as bait for the enemy. The branch of the army he got put into, like the commander used not human bridges, but he used bridges that had to be run by people, and it was basically people would run these bridges. It was faster than like pulling it by like animal. But the enemy would actually focus on them instead of the soldiers. So that was his whole thinking, was have the enemy waste time shooting the bridge runners instead of the soldiers. Because as long as a couple bridges get to the gap to let them cross, the army can get through with minimal losses. But like, fuck all these guys who aren't good enough to be soldiers. So like a big portion of the first book is kind of like found family and him like trying to protect these people that like at first like begrudgingly deal with him, but like eventually become like a tight knit group. And a lot of them are like really endearing characters.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And then even some of the like the like highborn people, like the people in charge, like they all seem really shitty in the first book until like you start getting into some of them and you're like, oh no, like there's this whole section over here of people that are like just as powerful as like the shitty ones that are actually really like decent and like mean well. So yeah, I understand why it's as popular of a series as it is.
Nice.
It's also a huge bummer that like it's only on book 4. Book 5 I think is supposed to come out next year or the year after. But like it's of 10 full books. On the bright side, it's not George R.R. Martin, so they like the books will come out eventually.
You'll get the books before the series.
Wait, say that again?
I know that you'll get the books before the series ends.
Yeah.
This book will eventually be picked up. This book series will eventually be picked up by HBO, and you'll get the end of the series for the books before the end of the series on HBO.
Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if Amazon picked it up. Because Amazon did the Wheel of Time, and so Robert Jordan is the guy who wrote like the first like 6 or 7 Wheel of Time books, I think. But he died. And Brandon Sanderson was actually the person that like his family chose to finish the series so that the series would get an actual conclusion. And like they used Sanderson as like a consultant on some of the series, like the Amazon series. So I wouldn't be surprised if Wheel of Time does well enough if they then try and like cut a deal to like make his books into something, which like would be cool because like the dude writes like a fucking madman. Like the 4th book I think came out last year, or no, it came out 2020. So it came out 2 years ago. In those 2 years, he wrote 4 other books of similar length. And then is also like 70% done like another book. So like he just like vomits fucking pages of novels.
Jeez.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. And like they're quality. Like it's not like garbage. It's kind of like Stephen King with like horror. Like never been a huge Stephen King fan, but as far as I understand it, like the stuff he did in like the 70s, 80s, and like early 90s, like there were very few like bad books that he put out in that gap. And like he was putting out so many books, he had to come up with a pseudonym to release under because he wasn't allowed to publish any more books as himself. Like I forget exactly how that worked out, but I think like in the 80s there was like an author could only release X amount of books as themselves per year. And he was writing so many books that he came up with the pseudonym Richard Bachman to release additional books that year.
Jeez.
Yeah, like Stephen King was a fucking psycho, like when it came to that stuff. Cause like you figure he spent like 40 years writing like fucking horror books and was like doing multiple per year.
Man, he's wild.
Yeah.
He's a wild writer.
Yeah, though. From what I hear from other people, like all of his later stuff, like was not as good, and like he does not pump them out the same way he used to.
Yeah, but I've always wanted, like they had the Dark Tower movie. I was like, that series seems interesting. I've always wanted to try to read it. Never did.
Apparently, the movie is very bad. Like aside from it not being accurate to the books, it did not do super well. And apparently, it's like very different from the books. But I've always heard the books are really good.
Yeah.
There is a big gap in them, though. Like, I think he wrote them in the 80s, and then there was, like, 20 years without one. And then after that, like, big car accident he had, like, in the 2000s, he went back and, like, finished it. Something like that. I don't know for sure. But that's probably going to be a show.
I think so.
Yep.
All right. Well, in that case, in 2 weeks, we're going to be watching The History of Texas. Oh, Jesus.
The History of Texas.
I don't know what I'm doing.
The Alamo.
The History of Texas. We're going to be watching The History of Tetris from the gaming historian YouTube channel.
It's the history of Tetris in Texas.
Yeah. Which, I mean, Texas and Soviet Russia, not that different.
No, not at
all. But yeah, so book club in 2 weeks is that. But other than that, if you would like to find more of our content, you can head over to www.one-quest.com. You can also help us out by supporting us at patreon.com/onequest. If you can't support us there with dollars, though, you can go to your favorite podcasting platform, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, all those fun places. Rate us, review us, subscribe to us. It all helps a whole bunch. You can also find us on social media, facebook.com/OneQuestOnline or at @1_Quest on Instagram and Twitter. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/OneQuestVideo, and you can always send us emails to social@one-quest.com. And then, Rich, this week you are doing 7, and then over the weekend you'll be finishing 8. Is that how you're?
Yeah. So tonight, as the day that this releases, I should hopefully be finishing Resident Evil 7, and then Saturday around 5ish until 10ish, I'll be doing 8, with another long stream on Sunday noonish till probably 6 or 7. I'm gonna try not to go for another 9 hours again, but like not much longer than 6 or 7. And if we don't beat it, we'll beat it on Monday. If we do beat it, great. We'll probably play some Dead by Daylight or something on Monday.
I was gonna say you had to play something spooky on Monday.
Yeah, it'll be probably Dead by Daylight. But yeah, come check it out, twitch.tv/B_1.
Cool. All right. Well, with that, we'll be back next week with something else to talk about. Thanks for listening. Bye.
See you.
Bye.